The night was unusually dark and silent as I walked alone along the deserted streets. A feeling of unease washed over me, but I brushed it off as a product of my overactive imagination. The city was known for its tales of the supernatural, and my mind was playing tricks on me. As I turned a corner, I froze in my tracks. Under the flickering streetlight stood a figure that sent chills down my spine. The man was tall, dressed in a tattered cloak that seemed to blend with the darkness. But what horrified me were his eyes, or rather, the absence of them. Two hollow sockets stared back at me, void of any life or light. I tried to look away, to convince myself that it was a Halloween prank or a haunting illusion. But the longer I stared, the more I realized that this was no trick. The eyeless man's presence was palpable, as if he exuded an aura of malevolence. Fear gripped my heart, and I instinctively took a step back. The eyeless man made no move, but I could feel his gaze piercing through me. Every fiber of my being screamed at me to run, to escape from this enigmatic and terrifying figure. Without a second thought, I turned and sprinted down the street. I didn't look back, afraid of what I might see. My footsteps echoed in the empty alleyways, amplifying my panic. It was as if the eyeless man's presence lingered behind me, haunting my every step. As I rounded another corner, I stumbled upon a group of friends who were chatting and laughing. I desperately tried to compose myself, not wanting to appear unhinged or insane. But the terror in my eyes must have been evident, as my friend Alex asked with concern, "What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." I hesitated, unsure of how to articulate the horror I had just encountered. Finally, I managed to stammer, I saw a man without eyes. It was terrifying, like something out of a nightmare." My friends exchanged glances, clearly skeptical of my story. "Come on, it's probably just some weirdo trying to spook people on Halloween," said Sarah, trying to reassure me. But deep down, I knew this was no Halloween prank. The encounter had felt all too real, and the image of the eyeless man was etched into my memory. As the night wore on, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. It was as if the eyeless man's presence was everywhere, lurking in the darkness, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Sleep eluded me that night. Every creak of the floorboards and rustle of the wind made my heart race. I kept the lights on, hoping that the illumination would keep the eyeless man at bay. The next day, I tried to go about my daily routine, attempting to forget the horrifying encounter. But as I glanced out the window, I saw him again. The eyeless man, standing across the street, his hollow sockets fixated on me. I rubbed my eyes, thinking it was a trick of the light. But when I looked again, he was still there. Panic surged through me, and I quickly closed the curtains, hoping that would make him disappear. But the sightings continued, day after day. The eyeless man was always there, watching me from a distance, his malevolent presence growing stronger with each passing moment. I confided in my friends, seeking their advice and reassurance. But they couldn't see him, and they dismissed my claims as a result of stress or sleep deprivation. Feeling isolated and desperate for answers, I turned to the internet, researching tales of the supernatural in the hope of finding a connection to the eyeless man. That's when I stumbled upon an old legend, one that sent shivers down my spine. According to the legend, the eyeless man was a vengeful spirit, seeking justice for a heinous crime committed against him in life. It was said that those who encountered him were cursed, doomed to be haunted until the spirit found closure. Terrified but determined, I sought ways to break the curse and free myself from the eyeless man's torment. I visited spiritualists and mediums, seeking their guidance and protection. They performed rituals and cleansings, but nothing seemed to deter the malevolent spirit. With each passing day, the eyeless man's presence grew stronger, invading my thoughts and dreams. I could no longer discern reality from the nightmare that had consumed my life. The eyeless man was no longer just an apparition haunting the streets. He had become a part of me, an ever-present shadow lurking in the corners of my mind. And so, my journey to escape the eyeless man's grasp continued with no end in sight. The curse was a relentless force, a nightmare that refused to end. Days turned into weeks, and I began to lose hope. It seemed as though the Eyeless Man's hold on me was unbreakable. Everywhere I turned, he was there, watching, waiting. One evening, while searching through old archives at the local library, I stumbled upon a peculiar book. Its cover was worn and dusty, and its title sent shivers down my spine. The Chronicle of the Eyeless Man. Intrigued and desperate for answers, I opened the book, revealing pages filled with eerie illustrations and haunting tales. As I read, I discovered that the Eyeless Man was once a regular man named Samuel, known for his generosity and kindness. However, Samuel's life took a tragic turn when he was wrongfully accused of a heinous crime he didn't commit. Consumed by rage and despair, he cursed those who had betrayed him, vowing revenge from beyond the grave. But as the legend foretold, the curse wasn't just meant for those who wronged him. It extended to anyone who crossed his path, as he sought to find justice and redemption for his untimely demise. I realized that my encounter with the Eyeless Man had been more than a mere haunting. I had inadvertently stumbled upon the long-forgotten tale of a tormented soul seeking justice. Filled with a newfound sense of purpose, I sought to right the wrongs of the past and help the Eyeless Man find the closure he so desperately craved. With the ancient book as my guide, I delved deeper into the history of the cursed town and the injustice that had befallen Samuel. It became clear that the only way to break the curse was to uncover the truth and expose the real culprits behind the crime. The journey was treacherous, and danger lurked around every corner. But I was determined to end the Eyeless Man's suffering and free myself from his haunting gaze. Finally, the pieces of the puzzle began to fit together, leading me to a dilapidated mansion on the outskirts of town. It was rumored to be the place where Samuel's wrongful accusation had originated. As I stepped through the decaying gates of the mansion, an overwhelming sense of dread washed over me. The air was heavy with the weight of the past. I could almost hear the anguished cries of the past echoing through the halls. With each step, I felt the Eyeless Man's presence growing stronger. I knew that he was guiding me, leading me to the truth that would set him free. The mansion was a labyrinth of secrets and hidden passages, each one leading deeper into the heart of the mystery. The walls seemed to whisper tales of betrayal and deceit, and the air crackled with an otherworldly energy. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I stumbled upon a hidden chamber. It was adorned with faded portraits and ancient documents, the remnants of a time long gone. As I sifted through the dusty records, I uncovered the truth, the real culprits behind Samuel's false accusation. The revelation was chilling, as the perpetrators had conspired to frame an innocent man, all to serve their own sinister agendas. Armed with the damning evidence, I knew that I had the power to break the curse and finally put the Eyeless Man to rest. With a newfound sense of purpose, I made my way back to the town square, where the legend of the Eyeless Man had begun. The night was still, and a hushed anticipation filled the air. The Eyeless Man stood before me, his empty sockets fixed on mine. But this time there was something different about him, a sense of calm and acceptance, as if he knew that his journey was coming to an end. I held out the evidence, allowing the truth to shine through the darkness that had plagued the town for so long. A faint smile crossed the Eyeless Man's face, and in that moment, I felt a connection, a shared understanding that transcended life and death. With a nod of acknowledgement, the Eyeless Man began to fade, his form dissolving into the night. The curse had been broken, and he was finally at peace. As I watched him disappear, a wave of relief washed over me. The nightmare that had haunted me for so long was finally over. Just as I turned to leave, a chilling breeze swept through the town square. I felt a presence behind me, and a cold shiver ran down my spine. I turned around, and there he was, the Eyeless Man standing just a few feet away, his hollow sockets fixed on me. In his hand he held a glinting knife, and a killer smile crossed his face. My heart pounded in my chest as the Eyeless Man began to walk towards me, his steps slow and deliberate. I was paralyzed with fear, unable to move or speak. The world around me seemed to fade into darkness, leaving only me and the eyeless man.